Hello, psychonauts. Today, I wanted to have a chat about the meaning of life. Okay? Do you ever just look around at reality and think, how, how is this even here? Okay? How? But I think that feeling, that looking around and not just going about as if everything is normal. We spend most of our time, at least I assume that most people spend most of their time not really thinking about why any of this is here in the first place. Why are you here in the first place? Okay? And maybe depending on your perspective, maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe there is no why we're here. But maybe there is. And I think the meaning of life is at least attempting to answer that question of existence, that question of what is life? What is it? If we're going to talk about the meaning of life, maybe we need to know what life even is. What life even is. So, let's go back a little bit. Okay. So I think that there might be more to it than just the spiritual quest, because what do I mean by the spiritual quest? I mean that search, that I don't know, because you can go about the spiritual quest in a different way, and it might mean a lot of different things to different people. So I guess what we're getting at, is this what we're getting at? Are we getting at that the meaning of life is subjective? Could there be an objective meaning of life? I don't know. Maybe there could. Maybe life is some sort of game and there's a real objective. I don't know. Do you think that? Do you think life is a game and that there's an actual objective? Like it's not just whatever you make it. Maybe there is a goal. Sometimes I think about that too. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to just sit and appreciate the mystery of it all, because you're never going to find the answers. There's not a chance that I'm ever going to know. But I wanted to add on, okay? So I think that there needs to be an extra element to the spiritual quest. And maybe this is, maybe this falls under the umbrella of the spiritual quest anyway, but I think it is important to bring up love. Yeah, love. Love is all. Love is all you need. Love is you. Love is me. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space. What is love? What is that feeling? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Is it something beyond that? I think love has to be part of the equation. I think love has to be part of the meaning of life. So we have the spiritual quest and we have love. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? But I think it is important to love not just the people that are close to you, but really embrace the message of love. I think love is really something beyond this dimension. I think it guides us from a higher dimension. I think love is some sort of transcendental emotion. See, that's not the thing. The thing is, I'm trying to distinguish it from an emotion. It's some sort of transcendental, it's like a higher dimensional emotion, if that makes any sense. I think pure, absolute love is probably... there's a lot of different types of love. Maybe, how do we even know we're talking about the same thing? When I say love, we could be talking a lot of different things. I know. There's always so much. There's always... Do you want to just sit here and process reality with me? let's process this. What is going on? That's another thing. I've had these weird trips sometimes where I realize like the meaning of life or the meaning of my life or this reality, like it has a purpose. And that purpose is somehow to find some sort of answer or stay with me. Okay, because this is a very abstract idea that I'm trying to bring down. That this whole existence, I don't know, that there's something to be learned. Maybe it's that. Maybe that you have to learn something on this level of reality, and that lesson is going to transfer you into some next level of reality. I mean, I think we're getting into the question now. What happens when you die, and is there life after death? I remain skeptical as always, and I really think that a lot of the ideas that I have about life after death, I think in some ways they're almost the same thing as if nothing would happen. I don't know if I can explain this properly. But as a psychonaut, I do think that there is consciousness after death. I don't think consciousness ends. That's why I think that you die when you die. Like the ego and everything you've ever known as yourself, your body, all of your memories, your personality, anything that makes you distinctly you, I think that's all gone. And there are some ideas out there talking about life after death that maybe some of this stuff does stay. There are so many different ideas humans have come up with. I don't even know, uncountable ideas about what happens when we die. This is a topic in and of itself. We were supposed to be talking about the meaning of life. Would life have a meaning if there was no death? Does death make life more meaningful? Or is death something that we've just learned to accept and maybe it's not really necessary? Maybe we don't have to die. I don't know. There's a lot of things to think about. No, but sometimes it feels like maybe this life, this reality is some sort of level to a game. That we're processing this reality. And when we're finished processing this on this dimension, we'll be able to see from the higher dimension, okay. I'm losing you. Sometimes it's really difficult to bring down some of these ideas and try to put them into language in a way that anybody can understand it. But maybe you just like the sound of my voice. That's always a possibility. So the meaning of life. Maybe it's to find the question. Is it to find the question, to find the answer? 42, I mean, it could be. 42. That reminds me of something. I've said something before. Life is a story. Life is a story. Who's writing it? Who's writing the story? So maybe the purpose of life is to increase information. Maybe I think about this a lot. There's a sort of fundamental consciousness that is everything. I hope you don't mind just sitting here and thinking with me. I'm really trying to get at something. Let's start at the beginning. Where does anything come from? It's a hard question. I mean, it's a very, much like a paradox when you try to think about it. The best explanation that I can come up with is that, well, let's just assume that nothing exists. Well, since we already know something exists, and we want to know why. Well, let's see what would happen. What would happen if nothing truly existed? It was just the void. Zero information. Zero information. No distinctions. This is important. No distinctions. In the state of zero information, there's no differences. Okay, because anything that's a distinction, that would be information. Okay, because we would know something is not something else, and that's information. That's information. Okay, so zero information. What if I told you zero information actually implies all information? Because they're the same state. The state of zero information is the same thing as the state of all information. I know you might be losing me, but the important thing is that distinctions, okay? If there's nothing to differentiate one thing from another, then there's no information. I think reality kind of emerges out of these like dualities, which is really, it's just poles. It's just one end of a pole. It's just a yes or a no. It's just opposites. Like that's like the core of information is differences, is a difference, is a pattern, is something to distinguish one thing from another. Something to distinguish one thing from another. You know, maybe I'm engaging in the meaning of life right now. You know, this act of wanting to understand what this is. Maybe this is a process that goes beyond my own mind. Maybe I'm the larger mind of the universe, mind at large, wants to understand itself. I mean, this is another idea that God or the universal consciousness, or you know, the sum total of the universe, which, you know, I'm kind of a little bit of a pantheist. I kind of think the sum total of the universe is synonymous with God. But it wants to know itself. It wants to know more about itself. And through this process of life, through this process of the playing out of all possibilities, the playing out of all information, it's able to understand itself. You know, now I won't promise that some of the stuff I say doesn't contradict. Sometimes it's hard to not run into contradictions, but I think contradictions are important. When you run into them, that's where you know that there's something interesting there. There's really something to look into. So, you know, don't be afraid of contradictions. Just be mindful of them. You know, I constantly kind of keep my mind in some sort of superposition of all possible like philosophical outlooks. I have so many different ways that I see the nature of reality and the nature of existence, and sometimes I'm sure some of these positions contradict each other, but that's why we're in the superposition, so that I can play around and hold all of these ideas without fully closing off the other possibilities. Because if I decide that one of these things is the absolute truth, which how would I know? How would I know something's the absolute truth? I don't know. Could you know something is absolute truth? Now we're in like the philosophy of knowledge. I know the word right now, but for some reason I didn't say it because epistemology? Why am I saying these words weird? I know what I'm talking about, okay? Sometimes I don't know how to speak. How can we know anything? Can we know anything? Is there any such thing as objective truth? I don't know. What do you know? What do you know? I guess the only thing, we always have to come back to the beginning. The beginning is, I mean, something is happening. Something is happening. I mean, somebody is experiencing something. There is something to be experienced. At least I know that. I know that. There is something to be experienced. And where do we go from there? Where do we go from there? It's quiet. Sometimes it's actually quiet. You know, when you're meditating and the thoughts keep popping up and you're like, oh, hey there, I see you. Well, sometimes when I'm not even trying to meditate, I just sit here and there's absolutely nothing. There's no thoughts. They're all gone. I chased them all away. Can you guys come back? I wanted more insight. It would have been great. I've said this a million times. I don't know where the thoughts come from. It reminds me of something Albert Einstein once said. What did Albert Einstein say? I don't know. What do you remember about him? I remember him having the memory, or he had this imagination of rolling down the hill. Or no, he was traveling on a beam of light, right? I don't know. Didn't he say something about where the ideas come from, where the inspiration comes from? You know what? Forget Albert Einstein. You know who I was thinking of? I don't know if I've ever said this name on my channel before, and I should say this name. Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla. I know you know who that is. You better know who that is. Better know who that is. Consciousness. I do think understanding consciousness is probably the key to everything. I wish we diverted more resources to understanding consciousness. I think it's the future. Consciousness exploration is the future. I believe that. I really do. I believe we're really at some sort of inflection point in history. I don't know. That actually gives that reminds me of something about simulation theory. Like maybe we really are in an interesting point in history, and that kind of gives more backing to the idea that it's a simulation, because you'd want to run a simulation at a point where something significant happens, something really influential that would completely change the course of human history. I don't know. But it is true, there is some truth to it. I mean, human history, things are progressing at a rate faster than they've ever progressed before. So, who knows what the future is going to be like? I don't know. I'm excited to see it. For better or for worse, I really want to know what happens. I really do. Okay. I think all my thoughts have burnt themselves out, so I'll let you go. And I'm glad you spent this time with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got to reflect a little bit on the meaning of life. And let me know, what's your best explanation of the meaning of life? I don't even know if I gave a good explanation. I really just wanted to explore the topic in my natural state. Yeah, that's all I have to say. You'll see me in the next video. Goodbye.